Hi, good morning, everyone. I think we should start while others are joining us. Thank you for joining the ICT4Girls Virtual Community Day. And I would like to thank our speakers for accepting our invitation to present today. Thank you so very much. We have Oreoluwa from Women's Technology Empowerment Center, Ariana from Google, and Adora from Microsoft, and Adeyinka from the University of Ibadan. Thank you so much um, for coming. And thank you to our participants for accepting our invitation to join. And I'm expecting more of the ICT4Girls program participants to join us. And the essence of this community day is to have everyone. Can you all see me? Because oh, okay. Okay, I don't know if you can all hear me because I can't hear any sound right now.
I can hear you.
Oh, okay, that's great. Okay, thank you. I'll just move on. So, the essence of this community day is to enable. It's a women event, yes, women in STEM, is to build capacity among women in STEM. And as we all know, there's the gender gap between men and women in the STEM field. So the ICT4Girls program is to encourage more women participation in the field. I myself, I studied engineering, and I remember we're just two ladies in my class back then, and I know it was a bit challenging, but yes, put through. And I know that yes, a lot of women can also excel in this in STEM field. And one of the essence of this webinar is to encourage innovation among women in STEM for us to. So it shouldn't be just all about there's a particular software out there, and when you get the team that come together in building this particular thing, they are mostly men. So we, especially here in Africa, we want to encourage more women participation in driving innovation. So would sorry, okay, that has been stopped. I'm going to share in the chat right now the agenda for today, and we'll be having our mentorship section first. That's a presentation by Oreoluwa, a roadmap to a successful career in technology, followed by presentation by Ariana and Adora, then Adeyinka. So let me just try and share that right now to everyone. Okay, yeah, I've shared the agenda now. So if you have, and we are going to be having a Q&A section after each presentation. So if you have any questions, just click on the Q&A icon and then type in your questions, and we'll look into that, and the speaker would respond. So I think we should move to the next agenda. That's presentation roadmap to a successful career in technology by Oreoluwa Lesi. She's the founder and executive director of the Women's Technology Empowerment Center. So I'm going to be handing over to her now.
All right, thank you so much, Kafayat. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, you can.
Okay, I'm unable to start my video, so well, I guess, yes, it said the host has stopped that, but it's fine. I can just speak through. Are you going to show my slides?
Yes, you can show your from your hand. Yes.
Okay, all right, let's see. Let me do that now. Okay, all right. Okay. All right, so who am I? I hope you can see it. Can you all see the slides really well, really clearly? Let me know
Yes.
if you're not able to. Okay, all right, and I'll adjust it. Okay, great. So who am I? My name is Oreoluwa Leshi. I'm the founder and executive director of WTech. We're a nonprofit organization based in Lagos, Nigeria. And our mission is to nurture more female technology creators, developers, and entrepreneurs. So, okay. All right. So we do that through a number of programs. We have the She Creates Camp, where we have girls between the ages of 11 to 17. So these are girls in secondary school coming for an intensive 2-week boot camp where they are learning how to create technology and engineering-based solutions. So we have that usually once a year, but we have them in different places in Lagos, Anambra State, Kwara State, and we've had it in Ibadan as well. Then we have the WTech Academy, which is our after-school club, and that came out of the camp because the camp is a 2-week program. The girls were really fired up, but afterwards they wanted to keep learning. And with tech, you have to keep learning, going deeper. So with the academy, they're able to meet once a week and they're able to keep delving into different topics and technologies. So for instance, programming, it could be robotics, it could be electronics. And then we have the Mentor Hub program that also came out of the camp and the academy because we had young women who are going into university to study STEM related disciplines. And like Kafayat said, a lot of times they felt very isolated. You could have like one woman out of a class of 100 or 2 women or 3 women. And so there were different dynamics at play there. So the Mentor Hub program is to encourage young women who are studying STEM disciplines to stay in and to develop the skills that will help them successfully navigate their academic career and plan for a future professional career. And of course, we do lots of research and public events like this, discussions and debates. So moving on to the topic of the day, what does a successful career look like? Usually when we think about successful people in tech, usually they look like this. Of course, we all know who this is, Bill Gates, or Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg. So, I mean, are we seeing a pattern here? A lot of them white men, Asian men, and then of course, we have our latest heroes in Nigeria, Ezra Olubi and Shola Akinlade of Paystack. And they're all men. And while we have women in this space, we hardly ever hear their stories. We hardly ever see them. And there's a common saying, you can't be what you don't see. And so if all you see are men in the space, then you're very, you won't be blamed in thinking that, oh, perhaps this is a space for men. But I mean, thankfully, we know we have, quite a few women in this space. And I think part of the problem is that very few women who are studying STEM related subjects, so science, technology, engineering, and maths. And we know that the research shows that girls are as good in sciences and maths as boys are in school. But about the age of 12, 13, a lot of girls start to lose interest in the sciences or they become disillusioned. So you have very few women who are going to study technology or any STEM discipline. And even the women who start to work in this space, many drop out within the first 10 years. Maybe they decide that it's not for them. They don't like the working space, the working environment. They rather do something else, or, you know, for a whole host of reasons. So because of that, you have very few women who are working in this space. Looking at some of the stats from the National Bureau of Statistics, these are the numbers of engineering and tech graduates in across higher institutions in Nigeria. 78% were men and 22% were women. Working in the ICT sector as well, it's not much better. It's, you know, basically mirrors the numbers who are, you know, going in to study those subjects. So you basically go for tech events, for meetups, and you have something that looks like this, which is why programs like this, organized by Eko-Konnect, are so important, because they provide a space for women to come together and to learn, you know, to challenge, you know, each other, to ask questions, to really develop, as they say, iron sharpens iron, and really gain the confidence and the skills to be able to do well moving on into a STEM or tech career. So what does it mean to excel in technology or STEM? First of all, you need to keep learning. The old way was, oh, I went to school, I got my degree, now I'm working, and there's no need for me to, you know, to ever pick up a book again. I remember I used to hear that when I was younger. I can't wait until I'm done with school and I will never pick up a book again. Of course, in today's world, you can't afford to do that, whatever field you're in. Much less if you're in STEM, things are always changing. I mean, what was considered a fact before, I mean, you know, you have new discoveries, you have new innovations, there are new things to learn, and you don't want to become obsolete. So you need to keep on learning. That means that you have to have a curious mind. You have to have the ability to ask questions. Why? And children are very good at this. I'm sure anyone who has younger siblings or children know that, you know, they'll ask you, why is the sun so bright? Because it's a sun. But why? Why is the TV working? What makes the TV work? Why is this like that? Why is that like that? And so there's no way you can learn if you don't have a desire to know more and to understand more about the world. So you need to be curious. You also need to be teachable as well. So that means that if you have the opportunity to learn from anyone, whoever it may be, you know, be open and learn. So having an I know it all attitude, you know, really won't take you very far. And in the world in general, and especially in tech. I'm sure many of you know, of these online spaces, these MOOCs where you can learn. And then, of course, there are so many more than this. There are YouTube channels, there are online communities, there are podcasts. These are some of the podcasts that I listen to every week. Some about technology, some about business, and, you know, others about different subjects that I'm interested in. And it's a fantastic way to learn when you're on the move. You're around the house doing something, you're driving in the car, you're even walking from wherever to wherever. You can listen and learn about the latest innovations, latest trends. Websites and online communities is very important. Of course, you don't have to check all of them, but at least find the one that resonates the most with you, the one that maybe speaks in your language or just is communicating in a way that is on your wavelength. There are communities as well. Find a community, a safe space where you can ask questions. You can also showcase your projects as well. It's very important to be self-motivated and create your own opportunities because you won't always have opportunities handed to you. So for instance, you may find there might be a problem that you have identified in society. And you may ask, oh, I wish there was someone who could come up with something to address such and such a problem. But you know, when you have a burden for something, usually that person is you. It doesn't mean that you have all the skills in place, but it means that you have somewhere, you have a motivation to start. And then you can start to find people who can help you. So Train Quarters is an online platform, an online learning platform developed by Stephanie Obi. I'm sure many of you may know her. She's a graduate of computer science. And she has, I think, built a reputation teaching people how to create online courses and create online courses using a lot of online platforms developed, in the West. And she thought, why don't I develop something, because I know the particular challenges people in Nigeria, may be facing. It could even be to do with paying for the platform. So she developed Train Quarters. Okada books. I mean, we're reading physical books and we're also reading books on our phones. And Okada Books was also developed by a young Nigerian, an engineer. And I listened to an interview with him and he spoke about when he started. He didn't really know what he was doing, but he had an idea of something because he had a need and that need was not being met. Same thing with PiggyVest as well. Maybe many of you use PiggyVest, an app to save money and also to invest as well. And it also came out of an idea that wouldn't it be nice to have some digital version of a piggy bank? And so PiggyVest was born. And then LifeBank. LifeBank, the founder of LifeBank is not a technology person, but her background is in health. But she also identified the problem of lack of access to blood. And so came up with the idea of LifeBank and was able to partner and build a team who are able to build the solution that she visualized. So then it's important to get professional experience. We're Nigerians and we love qualifications, but all the qualifications in the world, don't hold a candle if you don't actually have some experience. And there's so many ways to get experience. I mean, of course, working is one, but volunteering is a very overlooked way to get experience. At the end of the day, when you put it on your resume, no one cares whether you are paid for it or not paid for it. But the point is, what did you do? What did you build? What did you create? And so those are fantastic ways to get experience. Volunteer, intern. A lot of times we don't like to do things for free. But the thing is, as you're doing this and you're not getting paid, you are getting something out of it in so many ways. Don't be afraid to fail. This is really important because I think especially as women, we are raised to be perfect. You step out of the house, you need to look good. You're answering a question in class, you're expected to know the answer, or why bother putting up your hand at all? But the thing is, the way you learn is you learn more from failure than you do from success. Success kind of reaffirms what you already know or what you think you already know. But failure challenges you to the heart of yourself to question and interrogate your knowledge, to seek out new information, and basically to rebuild knowledge. I love the saying by Winston Churchill. He said, success consists of going from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm. For many of us, and it's only natural, we try something and we don't do well at it. And there's a temptation to say, well, I guess that is not for me. And maybe I need to try something else. But it's really in this place of failure that you are really learning in a deep way. Now, success. You need to define success for yourself. What does success mean for you? For some people, success may mean being well paid, having a very highly paid job. For others, success may mean being in a position where you're promoted every year, you're rising up within the organization. For somebody else, success may mean starting your own company and providing employment for others. Whatever it is for you, it's important to be clear about it so that you don't compare yourself to other people and along the way get discouraged, because it's really easy to do that. Now, we always talk about the career ladder. We start from the lowest rung and we move up to the next step. So maybe the lowest rung is I'm in school, I'm in secondary school, then I get admission, then I'm in university, then I get that internship I wanted or that IT placement, and then I graduate with a first class or a 2-1, and then I start my NYSC, and then I get my first job, and then I keep rising. And a lot of the times, that's what we come to expect in the workplace, that we start and we keep rising. But then life is not like that. Sometimes you may need to move sideways. Sometimes you actually go back down. So for instance, you want to move from one job to another role, and it's a role in which you don't have the skills. So you need to develop the skills, which would mean that to do that, you need to take a pay cut. So you're in your mind going down and then going back up again. So instead of us to think of our career as a ladder, we should think of it as those jungle gyms, you know, the games like what you have in the playground. So the picture on the right is actually me when I was, I don't know how old I was there, maybe 5 or so. And you're trying to get somewhere, and there's so many ways to get there. You can go down and you can go back up. You can go left and you can go right, and you can climb up, and when you're at the top, you find something bringing you back down, and then you go back up again. So really be clear about what success means to you and map out a plan to achieve it and go for it. Don't pay too much attention to what you see other people doing, what you see on social media, but focus on yourself, focus on your journey, focus on your focus, as they say. Now, understand your space in tech. So this goes along with defining success for yourself. Technology, or if we're even talking STEM, is so broad. There's so many roles within the space. So let's look at technology. You could be a developer, you could be a front-end developer, you could be a back-end developer, you could be a systems analyst, you could be a technical writer, you could be a project manager, you could be a product manager, you could be a developer, you could be so many things. And there's so many, you could even be a lawyer, you could be a lawyer, you could be an instructor. The tech landscape is wide, and you need to also think about what aspect of it interests you most, or where you see the most growth potential, and decide that you're going to focus on that. It doesn't mean that you won't change your mind later. It's very possible. You can start off doing one thing and move into a totally different area, but at least, you know, give it some thoughts when you're starting out your career. So when you're still in school, I mean, you really don't know. You think you have an idea of what you want, but until you actually start getting some professional experience in that area, it's very difficult to say, this is what I want to do. And you may find that you start working and the role you thought you wanted, actually you're like, I don't think this is actually a good fit for me. I actually wanted to be a programmer, come up with the next great tool, but actually it's not for me. I think I would rather do something else, and that's totally fine. But think about your space, where you want to be within this wider landscape. And then when you do that, connect with mentors and sponsors. Nobody does this by themselves. And by this, I mean this career journey and this life journey. You always need people who are going to help you. So when you hear people say, oh, I'm totally self-made, I mean, that's not true, because nobody is. Everyone gets some help along the way. Now, mentors are people who, they're there to give you advice, whether you take the advice or not. There may be people who you may not even really know closely, but you see something in them that you like, and you're able to take lessons from their life. And you can have mentors in different areas. You can have mentors professionally, you can have mentors for work-life balance, you can have mentors for emotional health. So these are some organizations that run mentorship programs. I'm sure there are so many more. She Codes Africa. My organization, WTech, has the Mentor Hub program. Wimbase has one, though not tech focused, though you may find some tech mentors among their roster of mentors. And then mentor is another one as well. And then a sponsor is someone who, so mentors and sponsors are different. A mentor, you can talk to, they can give you advice, there's someone you know. A sponsor is someone you know as well, someone you have a relationship with, but they're usually much higher than you. And but there's someone who knows you, who's aware of your work, of your skills, and they can access rooms that you can't, maybe boardrooms, management meetings where decisions about promotions are being discussed, and they can speak for you and advocate for you when you're not in that room. Support other women. So as you are getting support from, your mentors and your sponsors, you're also supporting other women. And why is this important? It's important because you're getting, you're also giving back. You're helping to raise the next generation of women in this space. You're teaching. When you teach, you actually become more knowledgeable because you have to really question what it is that you think you know. And whoever you're teaching is also asking you questions as well, which is also challenging beliefs that you may have had. You may have thought, okay, yes, 1 + 1 is 2. And then they ask why, and you have to think about why is that so? So in teaching, you become more knowledgeable. And then volunteering as well, you're giving back to others, and you're also helping to bring more women into the space. And the more women there are in this space, I mean, the better it is, because one woman will not be seen as special. You'll be recognized as we're all special, and you're bringing more women in. And there's research that also shows that teams that are made up of, well, more diverse teams, really, so not just about gender diversity, but all kinds of diversity, are actually more profitable because they bring in different perspectives. So seek mentors, seek sponsors, but also seek to support other women as well. Acknowledge bias. Bias definitely exists. You will meet people who will think that because you're a woman, you will not be able to do the job. No, what do you mean? My best programmers are men. I've never had a fantastic female programmer, or women just can't work the hours that it requires. I think a lot of that is being challenged now, because now we are working from home. So, I mean, people are recognizing that, you don't need to be in the office. You can work from anywhere, and more so in tech anyway. We have the tools to make that happen. But acknowledge that bias exists, but don't dwell on it, because it's not going to be very helpful. But focus on doing your work as best as you can, being open to learning, and also building relationships, which is really key in this journey. So build your network. Your network is made up of your colleagues. It could be people who work in other companies across the industry. Let people know that you are here and that you have these skills. And for some of us who may be more introverted, who shy away from the thought of meetups, like physical meetups and networking sessions, you can network, you can build your networks online. LinkedIn is a fantastic tool to do that. You can find people who you really admire, whose career journeys, maybe you have been following, and you'd like to get to know them more, and you can always send a connection request to them. LinkedIn is also great for showcasing your work. And of course, there are other platforms as well. You can write about your work. You can have online portfolios where you're showcasing things that you've built. For our girls who have attended our programs at WTech, we've had quite a number who have developed apps, and we encourage them, to have them like on the Google Play Store, to put their products out there so they can always point to something that they've done. And of course, the download numbers as well. So showcase your work, in the ways that work best for you. Highlight and celebrate your achievements. let's say you completed a really tough boot camp, or even after, this conference or this program ends, share it online, share things that you learned from it, that you got from it. How did it help you? Do you encourage other people to also participate in this program? On LinkedIn, try and get recommendations. So people who know you, you may think, oh, I'm just starting my career. Who knows me? But you may have done work. It could even be your lecturers in school. It could be the facilitators in a training program that you attended, or a boot camp, or maybe colleagues from a hackathon that you participated in. Share your stories, share your success stories. We all love to share our success stories. But of course, it's not always, and not everything you do is going to be a success. And even so, where you think that you failed, share the lessons that you learned as well. And I think all these really help to give you visibility and also highlight your skills. Because sometimes people are out there just for being out their sake, but you always want to make sure that you're highlighting substance. Then ask for what you want. No one can read your mind. So, I mean, this speaks to, for instance, let's say you have started a job, and a lot of women don't negotiate salaries, but it may not even be a salary. It may be just the working condition. It may be that, so pre-COVID, maybe you wanted to work from home 1 day a week, or you have, or maybe you have, you want to volunteer somewhere. Always ask, say, this is what I would like to do. It will not, of course, you hear lots of no's along the way, but along the ways you also hear some yeses too. So hopefully with us, working and being committed and developing our skills and building our network, we can really build and increase the number of women who are working in tech and the number of visible women who are working in tech, so that when people think about a person in tech, they're no longer thinking of men, but they're thinking of, some of the incredible women who are doing amazing work, like Funke Opeke of Main One, Oduayo Eweni of Piggyverse, late Florence Sariki of Omatech Computers, and Moyoluwa Adeyemi, the first Nigerian Google developer expert, Juliet Ehimwan of Google, and Tejumade Afonja of AI Saturdays. And I really look forward to, all of you staying in technology, continuing to learn and continuing to encourage each other as well. So I wish you all the best as you move along your tech journey.
Thank you very much, for the amazing presentation. If anyone has questions, please click on the Q&A icon and type in your question there. Thank you for the amazing presentation. Thank you for highlighting steps for how women can find their way through the tech industry. We've enabled videos for speakers, so I think we should all put on our videos. Yeah. Okay. So right now, while we wait for questions to come in, I think I should move ahead to introduce our next speaker, Ariana. Ariana, she's a developer, programmer, and engineer at Google, and she'll be presenting on sentiment analysis with Google Cloud Natural Language API. Ariana?
Do we want to wait for questions or should I just start? I'll just start. What'd you say? Sorry.
So I said, can you hear us? Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. Perfect. I'm going to share my screen. Good morning from Seattle. It's 2:34 in the morning. Can you all see my slides?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So my name is Ariana. I'm a developer programs engineer at Google, and I work on a team that we call Animal. And what that stands for is analytics, IoT, and machine learning. And what I like about being a developer programs engineer is that I get to do all of the stuff that a software engineer gets to do, but I also get to work on things that I care about and build projects that I think are important, because then I can turn around and tell users how to use our products because I've used them. So this is a project I did right when I started at Google. I had an opportunity to do a starter project just to basically jump into all of these Google services and see how they worked. And I really hadn't done too much with machine learning before this. I studied bioethics in undergrad, and I made the switch to tech only like a year and a half ago. And so I'd learned about machine learning and artificial intelligence sort of like as a concept when I was in college, but I hadn't applied it to anything. So I decided to use the sentiment analysis with the Google Cloud Natural Language API. But before I talk about all that, I just wanted to break down what artificial intelligence is and what machine learning is. So AI is when machines simulate human intelligence. So artificial intelligence is specifically programmed to do a single task intelligently. So that's like Siri picking something for you, or I don't know if any of you remember the computer chess. I don't really know how to play chess, but it was a big deal when Deep Blue came out, and a self-driving car. And machine learning is a subset of AI. And the way it works is that it gets more successful by getting it wrong. So you basically train a machine learning model. And so the machine learning model will run and it'll say, how did I do? Is this kind of what you expected? And you'll be like, no, not really. And it'll just train and train and train until it learns, and you don't need to be explicitly programmed. So natural language processing is a part of all of that. And it's a branch of artificial intelligence that helps computers understand, interpret, and manipulate human language. So sentiment analysis is just one part of natural language processing. You can do a bunch of different things that I didn't even have time to get into. But the thing I like about sentiment analysis is that you're able to tell whether or not a document is written in a positive way or in a negative way based on the words that are used and their frequency. And the nice thing about using an API for this is that I don't have to know all of the really gritty math. I don't have to know all of the linear algebra. I don't have to write the algorithm myself. I just know, oh, I have an idea, and I think I could use this to see if something cool. And all I need to do is write a few lines of code, and I can do that. So I'm a big fan of APIs. So what I did was compare articles written by journalists, and I picked journalists who wrote about these two specific events because I wanted to make sure I didn't introduce any extra bias. So a journalist would have had to write about the Black Lives Matter protests that have been going on in the US since like the end of May. I mean, they've been going on forever, but really big in May. And then the Reopen America protests that were happening in March and April when people didn't want to stay inside because of COVID. And I was curious about if certain journalists would sort of let their biases sink through their writing. I made a lot of assumptions about news organizations that I thought would be very negative about something or very positive about something. And so using the sentiment analysis API is a cool way to see if your assumptions are really what's happening. So which protests do you think are written about more positively, Reopen America or Black Lives Matter? For me, it depended on the publication. I tried to pick from a range of different places. So I used Fox News. And so I made the assumption that all of their coverage about Black Lives Matter was going to be negative. And then I just kind of assumed everybody else would be sort of like middle of the road. Maybe Reopen America stuff would be a little more negative just because it's weird. But before I tell you what happened, I'll kind of go through my whole process. So first, I kind of chose the articles that I wanted to examine. And this took a little bit of time because I wanted to make sure that each journalist had articles from both categories. So once I chose them, I wrote a script to scrape the text from the web pages. So instead of pulling up CNN.com and then copy pasting all of the text of the article, I wrote a script where I could just take the URL, drop it in, and it would pull the text out for me and then call the API. So I didn't have to do it myself, which is I'm a big fan of. So that's what happened. And these were the assumptions that I made. I assumed that the articles I chose were relevant and that they really got to the heart of the issue that I was trying to compare. I assumed that the Fox News stuff would be very negative, and I assumed that it would be a very clear delineation. I thought it would be very stark, the difference between these two things, because to me they feel very different. I have very different sentiments about both of them. So what actually happened? Nobody liked anything. I was shocked. Everybody was so negative. So for every article, the overall sentiment was negative. And the way that sentiment is measured is from -1 to +1. And so throughout that range, just think of it like a scale. So -1 is like extremely negative, and 0 is neutral, and +1 is like, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. So every number is going to fall on that scale, and every number was in the negatives. So that was an interesting result for me. I was surprised. So these charts represent two different values that you receive when you get a score from a document. And something I am going to be honest about is I always had a hard time visualizing this, but this is what I went with because it took a long time. So the magnitude of a document is sort of like the strength of the words used. And the higher a sentiment, that just means the stronger the sentiment, and the higher the magnitude, the stronger the sense of feeling in the document. So these numbers, a bit of difference. I don't think it's anything like super huge, but all of these articles were like -0.3, -0.2. You can't really see it because it's very light, but -0.4, -0.3, all pretty close to each other and all very negative. And then the same thing with Black Lives Matter, where these three were basically all the same sense of negativity. NPR had the most negative sentiment with a -0.5, which is like, yeah, it's pretty negative. So I talked about the magnitude before, and when I started using this API, I didn't really know what the magnitude had to do with the sentiment. And so I was trying to figure out if it was very meaningful to me. So, like I said, each article has a magnitude value and a score value, and the score is the number that indicates that overall sentiment that I talked about. But the magnitude score is like how much emotional content is present. So I thought, what would happen if I stuck with Fox News, but I took the print article about the Black Lives Matter protests and I compared it to a transcript of this man. His name is Tucker Carlson. He's like he got sued once, and then he told the judge that he is an entertainer and he doesn't have to tell the truth. So I'm not going to call him a journalist, but he talks on the news and lies a lot. And so I was very curious about if the sentiment would be way more negative or if the magnitude would be way different. And I was definitely surprised at the difference in the magnitude. You can see the score itself is very, there's a horn. The score itself is very similar. And in fact, this is slightly less negative, but the magnitude is so much greater. It's like 869% difference in the emotional content in that transcript. And so I just thought it was really interesting to see the difference between print and video and the ways that people reach out to viewers and the things that people do that will turn people's emotional dials. So I learned a lot from that. So also reminded me of the importance of looking at everything, especially the things that I'm confused about, because sometimes I can get intimidated, or if I don't understand something, I'll say, oh, I'll come back to it and I'll figure it out later. And so this is a good opportunity for me to stop and say, let me really figure out what's going on, because I think there's something more meaningful under the hood that I could be figuring out. So the most important thing to me is telling everybody that anyone can use machine learning. I personally, my goal in life is just, I'm rooting for everybody Black. I think it's so important for Black people to have a hand in creating and writing and using these programs, because we are so innovative, and these technologies are affecting our communities every single day. And having the ability to have a say in the policy and the creation and the use of these products would be amazing. And something else is that you don't have to have a business idea to use machine learning. You could just have a question. And that's one of my favorite things about it. This project I did, it's not an app. I'm not going to make any money off of it. Nobody else can use it. But I had a question one day and I was like, I would like to know the answer to that. And it was very empowering to know that I could just use these tools that I had at my fingertips and find something out that I would have never found out before. So that's my presentation. Let me know if you have any questions. I put my LinkedIn on my intro slide, so feel free to connect with me there if you ever have any questions.
Thank you so much, Ariana, for taking us through the world of AI through your presentation. If you have any questions for Ariana, please let us know through the Q&A section tab. Yeah, thank you. We are going to make available all the presentation slides to everyone. Yeah. So thank you. So while we are waiting for questions, I'll move on to our next speaker, Adora. Hi, Adora. Adora, she's a software engineer at Microsoft here in Nigeria, and she builds cloud services. So our presentation will be on mixed reality. If you can imagine it, you can build it with XR. So, Adora.
Hi, Kafayat. Hi, everyone. Hello, Ariana. Thank you for that amazing talk. And also, thank you for speaking to us by, I don't know, 2 a.m. in the morning, because it's like really early in Seattle right now.
Yeah, but it's great. I'm a morning person. I made some tea. I'm up.
I know this because most of my team members are in that Seattle area as well, and this is like really early. Normally I don't hear from them until like, I don't know, 3 p.m. my time, which is like supposed to be 6 a.m. or something. So the fact that you are up here at this time really means a lot. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, thank you, Ariana.
I was so excited. Thank you so much for asking me.
I didn't hear what you said, sorry.
I said you can share your video.
Oh, my view. It's too dark.
Okay.
Adora, you can turn on your video.
Oh, your screen. You can see your screen. Got it.
One sec. I actually didn't want to before, but I mean, so yeah, hello everyone. I'm going to be giving a talk today, like Kafayat said, about mixed reality. Basically, if you can imagine it, then you can build it. I'm going to go ahead to share my screen right now. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Please let me know when you can see my screen so that we could get to, the main thing of the day.
I can see it.
Okay, thank you. Cool. So yes, if you can imagine it, then you can build it with XR. I'm going to start by saying that everything that is real was imagined first. I'm not even going to talk about, really amazing things that we have seen in the world, really amazing things that we have seen people create, like, you know, airplanes and then like all these really tall buildings in Dubai and all these other different things that have come out. I'm not even going to try and talk about that right now. I'm going to talk about something as basic as your room. If you're someone that lives alone, or if you're someone that has had to move between apartments before, at some point you thought about designing that room. And what that design was first your imagination before you brought it to life. Your imagination and a few, you know, a few pins on Pinterest, a few things on your mood board before you decided that, okay, I'm going to take this first step to paint this room myself, or I'm going to call a painter to paint it. But everything I want, all my ideas are currently in my head, and I have a, you know, a visual, like I can sort of visualize in my mind how I want this place to be. So most times, things that we eventually bring to life are things that we think about first. The airplanes that we enter today, the jets that we enter, the cars we drive, the cars that we don't drive, the Teslas, it was in somebody's head first. And now thinking about all of that, it's like, to think about this thing, yeah, a lot of things that we can think about, we can actually do. But sometimes we just choose to say it's not possible because we don't know that we can do them yet. I'm going to play this video for you, which is this is a movie in 2010. This is Iron Man, a movie in 2010. I'm going to play it for you just so that you can understand where I'm coming from.
Jarvis, could you kindly vacuum a digital wire frame? I need a manipulable projection.
(1974) Stark Expo model scan complete, sir.
How many buildings are there?
Am I to include the Belgian waffle stand?
That was rhetorical. Just show me. What does that look like to you, Jarvis? Not unlike an atom. In which case, can you please highlight the inner? Loose the throat pads. Get rid of them.
What is it you're trying to achieve, sir?
I'm discovering, correction, I'm rediscovering a new element. Loose landscaping, the shrubbery, the trees, parking lots, exits, entrances. Structure the protons and the neutrons using the pavilions. Did for almost 20 years. Still taking me to school.
The proposed element should serve as a viable replacement for palladium.
Thanks, Dan.
Unfortunately, it is impossible to synthesize.
I'm sure if they had asked me a question, my teenage self, obviously 10 years ago, if I was going to be working on something like this in real life, I would have said, no, like, what are you even saying? This is not humanly possible. What are holograms? I'm sure I wouldn't even have known what holograms were. I would have been like, I don't understand. Like, how am I holding air and it's moving? Like, how is it possible? But let's take a look at 2020. This was actually not 2020. This was 2018 or early 2019. I'm not sure anymore. But let's take a look at our current reality. And this is Julia, somebody that is also a mixed reality at Microsoft, introducing the HoloLens 2.
Today, I get to show you something very special. It's something we've been looking forward to for many years. When we set out to build HoloLens 2, we wanted to create something that you didn't need to learn how to use. You should just know it. And we call this instinctual interaction. Let me show you. Now, as Alex mentioned, the HoloLens 2 is very comfortable. It fits just like a hat. And the only thing that's even more effortless is how I'm automatically signed in. With Windows Hello and iris authentication, the HoloLens 2 is actually signing me in as I put on my device. Now, not only does the HoloLens 2 recognize me, it also recognizes my hands. Look at this, fully articulated hand tracking. And as I move my hands around, the HoloLens 2 is actually calibrating to my unique hand size. And of course, not only does the HoloLens 2 recognize me and my hands, it also recognizes the world. Welcome to my mixed reality home. This is the place where I have all the apps and content that I use every day. Let's check some of them out. Now, I've seen many people put on HoloLens for the first time, and the first thing people do when they put on the device is they reach out their hands and try and touch the holograms. And now you can. Look at the way that the hologram is responding to my hand, almost inviting me to touch it. And in fact, I can just grab this corner to resize it. Or I can rotate it, or move it. That's right. We are touching holograms. This is an app I've got called Spatial. Let me just put it right there. I've got another app here called Euphoria View. Now, it's a little big, so let me just use 2 hands here to make it smaller, and then rotate it so you can see. There we go. And then let me put it down here in your Spatial, maybe make it a bit smaller. Yeah, that's nice. All right, now let's switch gears and talk about a different kind of application. I've got a browser over there, but it's kind of far away, and I don't really want to walk over there, so let me just call it over with my voice. Follow me. This is a browser that's running Microsoft Teams, which is a tool that we use back home to collaborate. Let me see what the team's been working on. Okay, it looks like they've got a surprise for me in the Playground app. I just have to say the words show surprise. All right, so let me just open up that start menu here, and then place the app, and then launch it. So now we're actually exiting my mixed reality home and going into an immersive experience. But notice that that browser that I had actually followed me in. Now this can actually be really useful when you have things like emails or PDFs that you need to reference while you're doing your work. I don't really want it following me around though while I'm showing you all this cool stuff. So let me just put it over here and then we'll get back to it later. Welcome to the playground. We spent years exploring and refining interactions for HoloLens 2. And the playground is just a tiny sampling of the many prototypes that we built, tested, and learned from. Our approach is basically to try out as many things as we could and look for the things that stood out. So for example, here I've got 3 sliders. Each of them is controlling this wind farm simulation, but each in a different way, using a different interaction technique. One of the things we tried is this touch slider here. So here I can just stick my finger in the slider and have it go to a particular value to control that wind speed there. It felt okay. We also tried this push slider. So this guy can kind of nudge from side to side, kind of like an abacus, which was interesting. Now, the interaction that really took home the cake, though, was this pinch slider. The way that works is you just pinch it and move it wherever you want. And what we found was that people really like that tactile sensation of their fingers touching as they grabbed and then released. And across the board, for all interactions, the audio and visual feedback as you grab, move, and then release were all really critical for making this experience feel connected. Oh, this is just so satisfying. I can't wait for you all to try this out. All right, now let's move on to a different kind of control, buttons. How do you press buttons on HoloLens 2? Well, you just reach out and press them. Now, one interesting thing that we found about buttons was that the size of the buttons actually impacted the way that people interacted with them. So for example, for the smaller one, most people would use 1 or maybe 2 fingers, but for the larger one, pretty much everyone used their entire hand. And this is kind of interesting when you think about it, because these objects don't really weigh anything. They're just digital things. But despite that, people would treat them like real things, almost as if the bigger one had more weight. I just love the way these move and the sounds they play when I press them. It's great. All right, how about something that uses all 10 fingers? Well, to test that out, we built a piano. So here I can just play a chord, or I can play the keys one at a time. All right, so where's that surprise that the team had for me? Oh, that's right, I had to say those words. Show surprise. Ooh, look at that hummingbird over there, it's gorgeous. I wonder if it will fly to my hand. Yeah, oh wow, this is beautiful. I just love the way that it's following my hand around. I've got to tell the team, they've done a great job. And in fact, I don't even need to use my hands to do this because I can use my eyes and my voice. That's right, HoloLens 2 has eye tracking. So I could just look over to this browser here and look at the bottom of the screen to scroll it, and then send my message. Start dictation. The hummingbird looks great, exclamation mark. Send. So this is what we mean by instinctual interaction. By combining our hands, our eyes, and our voice, HoloLens 2 works in a more human way.
Okay, there's also another part to that video, but I'm not going to play that. So with all of those, things that I spoke about just now, I'm just going to go ahead and introduce myself to get to the main part of the talk today. My name is Adora, and I am a software engineer at Microsoft Mixed Reality that I mentioned earlier, and Kafayat also mentioned. I am a tech content creator at Adora Hack. Adora Hack is a blog that I created that also has a YouTube channel where I talk about, tech life and tips on growing your careers. I'll advise you to check it out. I just hit 2,000 subscribers yesterday, so I'm very happy at the moment. I also am a community builder, if that's a thing. I co-organize a bunch of communities. I'm an advisory board member for the VR/AR in Nigeria, which is the VR/AR Association, which is the Nigerian chapter of the Global VR/AR Association. I'm also the co-founder of Stack. I do GDG Aja as well, among some other ones. And when I'm not writing code, I DJ. So that's also another side to me that many people do not know. And you can find me on Twitter at Adora Woodrow. If you want to stop and say hi, you should. So talking about XR, I'm defining how I'm going to be, talking from now on, from this point forward. So I'm going to be using XR as an umbrella term to talk about augmented reality, mixed reality, and virtual reality. And I'm using that word XR, I'm using the term XR so that I don't have to say AR, VR, MR every single time. And I'm putting all these three things under one umbrella because they are all, immersive reality. So let's talk about augmented reality first. Today, who uses augmented reality? We can think about different companies like, IKEA. They have a Places app, and I'm going to be playing a video that shows you how their Places app works today. Pepsi, Toyota, Sephora, they use it for, different things like advertising. So a lot of brands have done different, campaigns, and these campaigns have been enabled by AR. I mean, when you look at Snapchat or Instagram stories, if you use filters, you are already using AR today unknowingly. Google uses it, Microsoft, Facebook, Instagram, Man City, ASOS, Gucci, different brands for different things. And just in case you're here and you're sort of wondering what augmented reality, or what I'm going to be calling AR from now on is, AR is, it's a technology that, you know, enables you to infuse graphics, you know, into your physical space, and you can, you know, like enjoy this experience or this immersion through, like, I don't know, AR glasses and your mobile phone. So this is AR in a nutshell. It allows you to, you know, bring in, you know, some graphics, bring in different digital elements into your physical space and experience all of these things together. And I believe that, you know, Snapchat filters are a very relatable example, because I could be taking a selfie and I could put digital glasses on my face, or I could put like digital makeup on, or I could even get like a digital wig, and that changes my whole look. And I take that picture and I post it and share it with so many of my friends. So that's an example of how a lot of people use AR today. I'm going to be showing you a brand, a makeup brand that currently has a virtual artist app. So if you want to buy makeup, you can literally see how, you know, the shade of lip gloss you want to buy looks on you before you go ahead to buy it, and things like that. And that could drive whether, you know, I should buy this color, it would fit me, or I shouldn't buy, you know, this color. So let's watch this video. So this is, you know, using AR as a way to, you know, check out how things look on you. I know a wristwatch brand as well. I don't remember, I think it's Rolex, that actually has, you know, an app where you can see what the watch looks on your wrist before you decide that you want to buy it. And I'm going to be playing this IKEA example for you. I think this is a very common example that a lot of people have seen before, but in case you've not seen it, this is the IKEA Places app. So this is a furniture company, but basically before you buy furniture, just to be sure that you're buying furniture that sits right in your space, you can see how the furniture looks in your environment before you go ahead and make a purchase.
Hey, IKEA would like everyone to know about Place, our new augmented reality app. Built on Apple's new AR kit, you can easily place true to scale 3D models of IKEA furniture in your place. Scan, browse, select, move, and place. So that could mean less of this. And less of this. And probably more of this. We want to make it easier for people everywhere to imagine a better place. Share this place and this place. Try place in your place.
Yes.
So now I'm going to move on to, you know, talking about virtual reality, which is on the extreme end of the spectrum. So, but you know how I talked about augmented reality, infusing, different digital elements and computer graphics in your physical space so that you can, have a feel of both, like we've seen with the color lips and we've seen with the IKEA furniture. With virtual reality, you get a completely digital experience. So you have no clue. Once you put on a VR headset and you are doing VR related things, you have no clue what is currently going on in your physical space. You do not have, I mean, except like your sense of smell and then you can hear things and all of that, but you cannot see your physical space, anymore. And there are lots of people that have gone to malls and have had to wear VR headsets and have experienced in VR, going to malls, going to different tech conferences, and all of that. So this is a virtual reality PlayStation VR experience. And the funny thing about VR is that you know that you're wearing a VR headset, but somehow if you wear a VR headset and you go into a scary room, for example, sometimes you still scream like, "Oh my god, this is so scary!" But then it's like if you're wearing a VR headset, this thing is not real. For that slight second, you sort of lose your mind and think it's real because of the immersion that happens within that space. I know, yes, nowadays I'm forming thick skin. Like anytime I put on a VR headset, I'm like, okay, is this all you have? Do your worst. But before, there was a time that I had a VR headset on and I went for some kind of roller coaster ride thing, and my seat was moving, so it felt real. So it just wasn't that I was looking and then I'm like, okay, the headset is acting like it's actually moving and I can see that I'm going up and I'm going down with the headset and nothing is happening to my chest, so I'm fine. But my seat was moving as well. So I was scared that I was like falling down, and I'm scared of heights. So that was like a funny thing and like a challenge for me. So I'm gonna play this video as well so that you can just have a feel, just in case you haven't seen it before, because I'm trying to give this talk, assuming that nobody here has had any of these experiences before, just so that we can learn together. So I'm going to play this real quick.
Man is obviously crazy. Are we just here to watch him die?
This isn't a game, Philippe. One mistake out there, and you're going to die.
We built this virtual reality experience for PlayStation VR based on the movie The Walk. So, as you may or may not know, The Walk's based on a true story of the man Philippe Petit, who walks 40 meters across a tightrope between the two towers in 1974. He didn't have any safety gear or anything at all. So, we're going to have you walk about 3 meters, and I'm your safety gear. So, if you can make it to the end of this cable, I'll help you turn around and come back. Easy as that. Yeah. Okay, so it's virtual reality. So, do make sure you look all around you 360 degrees. And try to look down, give yourself a little scared, because that's the fun part. And then, if you want to stop, just go like this. Take the headset off. We're done.
Sweet.
Cool. So left foot on the wire.
Left foot?
Yeah. Step.
Wow, this is trippy. All right, got this. Boots is not a great choice.
Okay, now turn to your left.
Oh, yeah.
And come back.
Oh, wow, that's so beautiful.
I probably wouldn't have made it this far.
You get it. You good?
Oh, wow. That was my first time and it was bizarre.
Yeah,
Yeah.
feel it.
The breeze helps.
Yeah.
Wow, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
So this is a perfect example of a VR experience. A lot of people are using VR today for, different things, for tourism. For example, like I could be in my house in, I don't know, Owode or Jolegba or States, and I put on a headset and I am literally in the Maldives. Do you understand? Like, and I can explore different museums. I can explore, different things. A lot of people are using it for architecture as well. Like, okay, well, let me say real estate, yeah, or even both, to be honest. It's like, okay, this is a 3D model of an apartment that you're about to buy. So you can take a look at what this looks like before you decide to, pay for it. People are using it in medicine as well, in education, for teaching, healthcare, entertainment. Burna Boy's concert, the Melody VR concert was, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, sometime recently. And a lot of people were able to experience that concert, wearing either, a Google cardboard thing or wearing an Oculus Quest. So this is also something that people are beginning to adapt and beginning to do a lot more. And I think that somehow COVID had an effect, played a role in lots of people adopting this technology even more, because we got tired of just seeing ourselves in 2D, but we wanted to start experiencing ourselves in other different ways, since we're not able to physically see and touch one another. So I'm going to be talking about mixed reality now, which is where I currently work. This is a picture of me giving a demo at Oscar Fest, which was the open source festival that held earlier this year in Zone Tech Park. I'm going to be defining mixed reality based on 3 things: based on computers and humans interacting, based on our real life experience, and based on computers just perceiving the environment. So when you look at humans and computers, that's the normal human computer interaction. Like, I can take my phone, for example, right? And I can just type into, I can go on Twitter and I can post a fleet. I can do anything like that. And that's human computer interaction, because that's me basically, giving the computer an instruction and the computer doing exactly what I tell it to do. The normal actual reality could be me taking this AC remote, for example, and just tossing it on the couch, right? Me taking a ball and kicking it, me doing whatever I want, playing with a headset. I am interacting with things in the real world, real objects, and they're giving me feedback based on my interaction. Like, okay, for example, now, I go to the park and I'm swinging and I push myself forward and the thing pulls me back. That's my actual reality. That's happening because of the normal laws that exist in the world, laws of gravity and every single thing. So what I do sort of translates to what happens back. And then talking about, the computers and the environments, that's the actual perception. When we think about IoT, I remember one of my friends built an IoT fan sometime last year. And it was basically, a fan that blows fast if the temperature is high, and doesn't blow as fast when the temperature is low. So the fan had sensors to sort of feel what the room temperature is and decide whether to move faster or move slower. And mixed reality basically fuses these 3 things together, which I believe is something that's very amazing. Fuses human-computer interaction, perception of the environment, and the actual reality. Let's look at the video that I played about Julia. Human-computer interaction, she could give the computer commands. She could say, okay, send this message, and it sends. She could tell the browser, follow me. So that's her giving some type of, command to the computer and her getting feedback based on the command that she has given. Perception is okay. The HoloLens actually understands the environment, understands the world, can see my hands, can know that this is a wall, this is a floor. If you saw when she did like this and you could see the spatial thing going on. And also if we look at the actual reality, it's that all these things that are happening doesn't really take us away from our actual reality. So I can literally be here and I could have a hologram of myself standing right beside me. And I can still see this laptop, I can still see my entire setup here, I can see everything in this office, but I can also see the hologram. So it is as though the hologram has suddenly joined me and is present with me in my physical space, which I think is amazing. I have already talked about this before, so I'm not going to go over this again, where there's a spectrum. AR is closer to the physical world because it infuses, digital objects in our physical space. VR is very close to the digital world because it's 100%, computer-generated graphics. And when you are wearing a VR headset, you are immersed in that experience and you have no idea what's currently going on around you in the physical world. And having 100% mixed reality is when you can, completely blend these two experiences to make it one, where you can see computer-generated things in your physical world and still interact with them as though they were physical things in your real life. How many different ways can we build XR today? Because I'm talking about, building with XR, imagining things and bringing them to life with XR experiences. I've talked about social media in the past, and these are so many examples of, AR filters that exist today via like Snapchat or Instagram story, and maybe hopefully Fleet in the near future, mobile apps as well. So when you're building these experiences, the truth is you don't have to go and learn like a whole new technology, right? You might need to learn maybe a few things, but as a mobile app developer, you can still be a mobile app developer. Why? Because we have things like Vuforia, we have Unity, we have AR Core, we have AR Kits, we have all these things that have enabled us to create these experiences on our mobile app. So you can still be writing your Flutter, your Java, your Kotlin, whatever it is that you are writing as someone that is a mobile developer, and you can create AR experiences in your mobile app, right? So I think that I believe that this domain is so powerful because skills are usually, they can be transferable, across different segments, whether you want to create these experiences or you just want to create normal mobile apps. You can also do XR on the web. We have things like, WebXR, WebAR, WebVR that make these things possible. So I could put on, a Windows mixed reality headset, and I could be on a browser like, Microsoft Edge or other browsers and experience XR on the web, have a 3D feel of what that website looks like, that website in 3D. You can also build for headsets, right? So you can build for, headsets and glasses, I would say. So you can build for the different headsets that exist. You can build for the different glasses that you have. You can build for Windows mixed reality headsets. You can build for your Oculus headsets, you can build for the HoloLens, and you can build for so many other headsets that exist. And most times you'll be building these things with like, and the truth is, even with headsets, you can experience VR on the web, right? But now I'm even talking about like apps that you can put on the headsets. So you can build these things with like Unity or Unreal Engine. If you're someone that cares so much about C++, you can try DirectX as well. And if you're looking for, how to start building things that you imagine, how to start bringing your imaginations to life in 3D, you can take a look at these links that I have here. I could share the presentation with Kafayat as well so that all of you have access to this. But if you don't want to wait till I share it, you can just take a screenshot of this page. And I think that these resources are going to help you get, one step closer to, being able to have your imaginations translated to 3D experiences that people can enjoy. With these links, you learn about mixed reality, the Microsoft documentation, learn about MRTK, which is a tool that has like so many components that are already made that you can bring into your app. It makes you, focus on your programming logic a lot more because so many components have been made for you. So you can bring them into your app and create an experience. There's Babylon JS as well, which is a JavaScript framework that allows you to render 3D content on the web. So this is going to be very valid for doing VR on the web. There's web VR as well, which is a specification for doing virtual reality on the browser. You can also go to the Microsoft documentation to learn about holograms, and the Stereo Kit, which is an open source library for building mixed reality and virtual reality experiences in C# without any external plugin. Like you don't need all this Unity, you don't need all these extra things. Just by installing Stereo Kits and having Visual Studio, if you're someone that really likes C#, you can write as much immersive reality code that you want to write. And as I started, as this is the topic of this discussion in the first place, I'm saying this again and emphasizing it, that if you can imagine it, you can build it with XR. If you can think about something, you can translate that thought to a 3D experience that a lot of people can enjoy. Thank you very much. If anybody has any questions for me, I think now's a good time to ask.
Wow, thank you, Adora. Thank you for taking us through the XR experience. That was such an amazing presentation. And we would also like to hear from our participants, would like to know your reaction based on the presentations that we've had so far. So if you have question or comment, you can raise your hand and we'll allow you to say something. So while we are waiting for that, there's a question for Ariana. Is it right to make assumptions when building a machine learning model? So if she can answer that. Hello, Ariana.
Yes. Hi. Yes. I think I answered. I'll just read it again, but this is a really good question. I feel like assumptions are always unavoidable. We always feel something about something we're working on, especially if you're working on a project like I was working on and it's something you care about. But I think the important word in your question was building a machine learning model. And the reason I felt more comfortable making assumptions about the result I was going to get was because I didn't build or train the model myself. I was just using something that Google has already created. And so if you are building your entire machine learning model from the ground up, that includes like getting your data set and getting your data. And if you're making assumptions at that step about what your data is going to look like or what the results are going to be, then you've already introduced bias into your model. And then you're going to be in for a world of hurt. Oh, let me turn my camera on. So we're all human. And I know people always say, like, never make assumptions and this and that. But I feel like a lot of times assumptions are unavoidable. But what's important is acknowledging that you're making an assumption and making sure that it's not affecting the result of your work, whether that be through, having somebody else check it or going through an audit. There's lots of different ways to make sure that you're not introducing bias. Camera.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. Please, if you have any questions, just click on raise hand icon and we'll see it here and allow you to say something. Or any comments. Okay. Okay, I'll move on to the next speaker, Adeyinka. Adeyinka, she's a researcher at the University of Ibadan. And our research field is in data science. So she will be talking about data science use case, dive into data insight. So I'll pass on to Adeyinka.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Very clearly, right?
Clearly, yes.
Okay, so I'll be speaking to the audience more. The room is kind of quiet. Can I get a hello from the audience, please?
Hello.
Hi, Ariana. How you doing? Thank you for your session. All right. All right. Okay, so very quickly, in the next 20 minutes, let me share my screen so that we can see what I want to talk about. Can you see my screen now? Can I get a feedback?
Yes, we can see. We can see your screen.
Okay. So in the next 20 minutes, very quickly, we'll be diving into data insights using a case scenario. And a little about me. Give me some minute, please. All right. So like Kafaya introduced me, I'm a PhD candidate at the University of Ibadan. I co-organize AI Saturdays Ibadan, and also I'm an instructor at AI Plus Club UI, also at Ibadan. Then I recently got certified by Microsoft in Azure. So I'm a Microsoft Azure Data Scientist Associate. So if you'd like to connect with me, you can do so on Twitter at Tekrigo or LinkedIn at Adeyinka J or Resoya. So what is data science? Simply defined, data science is all about you getting actionable insight from data in such a manner that is going to provide the business managers and leaders are able to make informed decisions that would lead to profit for them. You know, we all know that businesses don't just open for leisure or for charity's sake. They all open to make profit. And so if they are bringing you in as a data scientist, they expect you to be able to bring insight for the data they generate from customers, from their sales, invoices, and all of that, be able to make decisions on what to do that will generate even more profit for them. And so in data science, we are usually carrying out three major tasks, which has to do with exploration, which is identifying patterns or information in your data. And we do that through descriptive statistics and data visualization. Also, we also carry out prediction, which is about using information we know now to make informed guesses about future outcomes. And that's where we are going to be having our case scenario this afternoon. We are going to be looking at a predictive model for customer churn, for predicting customer churn. And then the third task is inference, which is simply about quantifying that our degree of certainty that we have discovered from our from the prediction of our data or of whatever it is we want to predict. That degree of certainty, are we sure that it will also appear in new observation? And so for that, we usually carry out statistical tests and models. Let me say that for prediction, we are usually using an aspect of artificial intelligence called machine learning. Ariana already talked about a little about machine learning the other time, so I'm not going to dwell on it. So again, there is this steps that we use in carrying out our data science project. We call it the data science life cycle, which starts with you understanding the business or the business problem. What problem do we want to solve? How are we going to go about solving it? What kind of data do we need? Is our data of good quality? How relevant is it to solving our problems? These are the questions we ask before now delving into the data itself. We gather the data, we try to clean it, and that's where we have data acquisition and understanding. And notice from here, you can actually go from business understanding to data acquisition, and then you go to deployment, which can be you just describing the data and trying to provide solution, and then you go to customer acceptance, or you can actually move on to modeling. which is also about feature engineering, model training, model evaluation. Notice that is an iterative process. You keep moving from one phase of the cycle to another. And then when you are satisfied with whatever you have come up with, and you know that this is going to actually result into your goal, which is probably to make more profit for your organization, then you can present it to the customer and then, or to the stakeholders, and then we end the data science process. Today, I would like to go into an aspect of the data science workflow, which is prediction, and we are going to be using machine learning. So essentially what we want to examine is, like I said earlier, customer churn prediction for a telecommunications company. And so the first step is that we are going to define the problem and measure of success. From there, we're going to collect, clean, and validate data. All of this has been done. And then the next stage is to explore the data, try to extract and engineer the features. Features are the variables that you want to use to predict a particular another variable, which we call the target variable. And then we decide on the machine learning algorithm to use, the best one that will give us the result that we want. Then the next stage is to cross-validate the model and also kind of tune the hyperparameters of the machine learning algorithm in order to give us a very good metric. And then if we are satisfied, we deploy, we predict, and then we deploy our solution. So I'm going to move on now to my Jupyter notebook. Okay. Okay, so if you can see my screen now, please, could you say yes?
Yes.
All right. So, okay, so the goal of the project, the machine learning project now, is to develop a predictive model that determines the likelihood of a customer to churn from Espresso, which is an African telecommunications company that provides customer with airtime and mobile data bundles in Mauritania and Senegal. Now, these are like the MTN, the Airtel, and the Glo of our own country, Nigeria. Okay, so what is churn? Essentially, churn is about when an existing customer of a particular company decides to end their relationship with that company, or they cancel their subscription. Now, it could be contractual churn or non-contractual, sorry for that. And then we have voluntary churn and non-voluntary churn. Now, voluntary churn is when it's the customer himself or herself that is actually canceling their services with the company. And involuntary churn is when the customer was actually, the subscription of the customer was actually canceled, not by the request of the customer. For example, if a customer is using a credit card now and the credit card expires and then he or she does not renew, then you know that's an involuntary churn. But if you, let's say for Netflix now, you subscribe to Netflix and for some reason you decided to cancel your subscription, and then you did that by yourself, and that's voluntary churn. Now we want to predict, okay, so which of our customers are likely to churn? And there can be reasons for this. Sometimes it could be due to poor service, it could be due to lack of usage. Personally, at the point, I don't know if some of us know GoTV is a subset of DSTV. I just noticed that they kept giving us the same movie over and over again. There was nothing new they were bringing to the table. So I just had to cancel my subscription and decided to start subscribing to YouTube videos. You know, that was to me poor service in my own interpretation. And then you could actually churn because there was lack of usage. Maybe you find that you don't use the particular service for a longer period. And then another reason for churn is maybe you get a better price from another competitor. So for this project now, we need to define the target variable, give it a particular definition so we know how to actually conceptualize our variable. So here, churn is actually defined as the customer becoming inactive and not making any transaction for 90 days, which is approximately 3 months. And then what is the essence of this project? It's to be able to help Expresso to understand which customers are at risk of leaving so that they can find better ways to serve them and then be able to improve their customer retention. Now, you want to understand which customers are at the risk of leaving so that maybe you want to offer, they'll be able to offer products or solutions that can assist them to be able to stay. And so this problem will be classified as a classification problem because we are actually going to categorize this set of our customers into two, whether they are churners or non-churners. I will not be going too deeply into the coding aspect because of time. So I will just be explaining what I did very quickly. So whenever we are carrying out a machine learning project, the first thing is, okay, we have defined the problem. Then the last thing is to start to learn about the data, which is about data exploratory data analysis, which is you identifying the patterns in your data, trying to get familiar with the data so that you can know what exactly lies in there and what are the drivers of the problem you want to solve. Okay, so here I brought in the description of the variables. And so we have, if you look at this place now, we have, okay, so this is just giving me a snapshot of my data, the first 3 rows. And then I have 4,000 rows and 19 columns. That is, I have 1 target variable and then 17 independent variables. So some of the variables are here. So one of them is the unique ID of the customer. Then we have the region, the tenure, the top-up amount, the number of customers, the monthly income of each of the customer, and then the number of times the client has made an income. So what we now intend to do is to explore each of these variables to see the distribution of the clients or the customers across this variable. Okay, like I said before, okay, I have 400,000 rows or observations, and then I have 19 features. One of them is the target variable, then 18 independent variables that is going to predict the target variable. So the first thing we do is to carry out descriptive analysis of the data. And this is giving us the mean, the summary statistics, actually, the mean, the standard deviation, the minimum and the maximum observations. And so let me move quickly to the missing value. From here, we can see that we have some missing values in the data, which is very expected in any data set. And so if you notice here that we have month hands, which is the top-up amount, right? If I'm correct, I'll be checking the variable from time to time. So if you check the frequency of recharge and the top-up amount, you discover that they have the same set of the same number of missing values. And then if you look at the top pack, which is the most popular packs of the telecom the telecom range of subscriptions, then you know that the top pack and the frequency of use of the top packs also have the same pattern of missing values. And so if we are going to impute the missing values, then we have to be careful how we impute them so that we know that those that have the same patterns have to be imputed in the same manner. And so like I wrote here that there are considerable missing values in 14 out of 19 columns. So we are going to treat those later. From there, I moved on to the target variable in order to know the distribution of customers by churn. And 0 represents those who did not churn, and 1 represents those who churned. And from here, we can see that Espresso has majority of the customers loyal to them. And we have some that are not, that are churners. And specifically 18.7% of them churned. And that makes the data sets to be imbalanced. And what I mean by that is because we have one class dominating the other. So there is a particular way that gives us an information on the type of machine learning algorithm we are going to use, or the other processes that we can carry out. We cannot just split the data into train and test without maybe carrying out some cross-validation, and even the type of cross-validation that we are going to carry out all depends on whether our data is balanced or not. So here, this is about their region. We discovered that from here, you discover that majority of the customers actually came from Dakar, which is the most popular city where the customers are from. And the tenure has to do with the number of months that they have been with Espresso. So from here, we can see that more of the customers have actually been with the company for more than 2 years. That's K greater than 24 months. Then this is another variable. One other thing about exploratory data analysis is that it helps you to see how you can actually fill in your data and then what variable to drop. If a variable is not going to provide a new information to your machine learning algorithm, then you drop it. So for instance, this particular variable now, MRG, has just one unique number. Everything is 1. And so that does not give us new information if we have all of the customers having just one value. So I said this feature has just one unique value, and so it gives no new information. I plan to drop the column. Then I'm trying to rush it up. Then if you notice here, we have the top packs. We have many levels, many categories of the top packs, which represent the types of subscriptions under Espresso. So how do I go about this? I decided to use cross tabulation to be able to know the distribution of the top packs between those who churned and those who did not. And so when I got my result, I discovered that a majority of those who churned, which is 87.5%, were not using the top active packs. So I decided to look into my missing values, and I categorized those that are missing as others. By the time I went into further analysis, I discovered that those are others did not actually, majority of those who churned were under the others. And that means that they were not using the top active packs. So when I plotted the number of times that they were active, which is like regularity, and the top pack, I discovered that majority of them, on the average, customers that are under others, that is those that are not using the top active packs, were active for just about 10 times in 90 days. And those who churned were not active for more than 6 times in the course of 90 days. If you look at this particular chart, you discover that those that did not churn, on the average, they were active for more than 30 times, about 35 times, whereas the typical customer who churned was active for just 6 times over the course of 90 days. That's a huge difference. Moving on to the top-up amount. Okay, so this has to do with those that have been with the customers. If you look at this chart now, those who churned, there were more people who churned. More of them have actually been with Expresso for more than 2 years. And so you begin to wonder why did they decide to churn? That's something that we need to look into. So moving on, then again, I did cross tab. Okay, I've talked about this. Let me move on again to their monthly income and their top-up amount. When I did the distribution plot, I discovered that there were considerable outliers. If you can trace the chart, there were considerable outliers for the top-up amount and the income, which is expected because salary usually range from people that are not earning that much to people that have a lot to spend. And so because these two variables have a lot of extreme outliers, there is going to be a particular way in which we treat them, because we have to standardize them before we can feed them into our machine learning algorithm. So yeah, looking at this chart, we discover that those who churned actually earned less, or they for months for top-up amount. Those who actually churned, they topped up less than those that did not churn. That is, they spent less on maybe data subscription or even airtime than those people that did not churn. And then looking at their income, we discover that those who did not churn earned more than those that churned. Okay. Moving on, I'm trying to put time into consideration. Okay, so the summary of this chart is that on the average, those who churned also earned less and they spend less to top up for data volume also. We have airtime, we have data subscription. And then they also called less, whether on inter-Expresso calls, maybe from, I'm just trying to imagine from MTN to MTN or MTN to Airtel or MTN to Glo. They all called less on either of those subscriptions. And so when I was through with my data exploration, I was able to come up with some suggestions for data cleaning. And so I said, I'm going to drop 2 variables. Why? Because one of them was redundant. We have another variable that is exactly the same with Apple segments, and so there was no reason to keep it. Then the MRG had just one unique value, which is not going to provide new information. And then I came up with me filling the missing value of top pack with others and the region with missing. Then the frequency of using the top packs, I'm going to fill the missing values with 0 and some other suggestions. So can I ask Kafayat, how many minutes do I have more?
I think just 2 more minutes.
You said?
2 minutes.
Okay, 2 more minutes. Okay.
Yes.
Sure to. Okay, so this is the churn model, building the model itself. This is my data cleaning. I had to fill the top packs with others and then the region with missing. And then I carried out some feature engineering. And this is the reason why I did that. For your machine learning algorithm, the algorithms understand just numeric values. So if you feed it with categorical variables, it's not going to take it. You will have to kind of like transform it to numeric variables such that it can be fed into the machine learning algorithm. And so that was what the feature engineering was for. I had to, because the tenure was in categorical variable, I had to transform it using label encoder and also for the top packs too. And okay, so, and then I built the modem using, okay, again, lastly, before I go, I also had to standardize the data using robust scalar. And the reason why I used the robust scalar instead of standard scalar or min-max scalar is because robust scalar is robust to outliers. And then the evaluation metric that we were going to use, which is log loss, is actually sensitive to outliers. So it will not give you good results if your variables have a lot of outliers. So I have to use robust scalar to be able to standardize the data set and take the outliers into consideration. So from there, I now fed it into I use light GBM, LGBM, which is an extreme gradient building, gradient boosting algorithm. And from there, I was able to predict the probabilities because the log loss metric uses the probabilities of your prediction. So lastly, I was able to carry out the feature importances of these variables. And it's for me to be able to check, okay, what are the variables that are very important to the predicted model. And I discovered that regularity, which is the number of times the customers was active in the course of 90 days, was the most important driver to whether pointing to the fact of whether the customer is going to churn or not. And then we have the data volume, which is the amount of data subscription the customer already got, or the on net, which is the number of calls that was made from between two espresso calls. So this is my conclusion, that if we are going to know who is going to churn, then the number of times they were active is going to point us so much into that fact that, okay, if this person is active for less than 6 times, then they are likely to churn. And then if it's more than that, then it's likely that they will not churn. Thank you. I am happy to take questions now.
Thank you, Adeyinka. Thank you for the amazing presentation and helping us understand the importance of data.
Thank you for having me.
So please, if anyone have questions for Teresa, sorry for Adeyinka. I think I saw a question from Teresa. If she can, for you, Adeyinka.
Okay.
So.
I'm listening. Okay, I should read through, right?
Don't really understand.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so she said, I will appreciate if the codes are well explained. We may not need to rush when it comes to coding. Thank you very much. I'm sorry, I was given some 20 minutes to talk, and coding is not something you can actually explain very well in 15 minutes or 20 minutes. This same class has been taught for like 2 hours. So I apologize, but I can actually send a link to my GitHub for anyone that wants to actually look at the codes better in your spare time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We also have a question for Ores. Someone is asking if there's a platform available on WTech for female undergraduate.
Okay, hi. We have a program for female undergraduates. It's the mentorship program that is running at the moment, and we'll have the next edition next year. And through that program, they learn a mix of hard and soft skills. You can always check our website for more information. I can drop the link in the chat.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for attending. Thank you to our speakers for such an amazing presentations. And we are going to be sharing all of the presentation to everyone that attended and others that couldn't join us. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. So this wraps up our event, and we hope to see you next year. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kafea. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Ariana. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Okay, be safe. See you all later. Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.